Hiya. So the drum beat you just heard then was the one of the verse drum beats from the song Fluorescent Adolescent by Arctic Monkeys, drummed by Met Holders. And it's a 1-bar drum groove, and it occurs at 8 seconds into the song after the dum dum dum, dum dum dum. It's the first drum beat to occur after those stabs. And if you want to practice along to a metronome rather than the song, for example, then it's around 112 BPM. I can never be totally accurate because from what I tried out when I was trying to find out the tempo for this song, I set the metronome on and the band ran out of time with the metronome, so I'm not sure if they were playing to a click or not, but it's around 112 BPM. Okay, so there's a simplified version of the drum beat I want to show you first, and then we're going to play the more complicated drum beat, or the actual drum beat, because it's quite tricky when you first try to put all the aspects together. Because it's got a bit of everything. It's got some offbeat bass drum, it's got some open hi-hat, it's got some double-handed hi-hat stuff going on. So it's quite complicated. But if we work on the simplified drum beat first, and it's going to work on the basis that we're going to leave out the open hi-hat part for now, we're going to leave out the double-handed hi-hat part for now. We're just going to play straight eighth notes all the way through on the hi-hat, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Snare drum's going to fall on beat 2 and 4 with the left hand at the same time as the hi-hat. We've got a bass drum on beat 1, and then our first bass drum to look out for is on the of beat 1, which is going to fall in between the hi-hats. So let me just play what I've just described to you there. So we've got beat 1 on bass drum, the of beat 1 in between the hi-hats on bass drum, snare drum on beat 2 and snare drum on beat 4 with straight eighth notes all the way through on the hi-hat. Sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then we're going to put the other bass drum parts in, and there's a bass drum on the and of beat 3 just before the snare drum, and then another bass drum on the E of beat 4 directly after the snare drum, again falling in between the hi-hats. So look out for that one, because that's a bit of a weird one if you're not used to playing bass drums in between hi-hats. One of the weirdest ones to play is the one after the snare drum. Well, I certainly find that when I'm teaching this to my pupils. So it falls directly after the snare drum on the E of beat 4 in between the hi-hats. So we're getting this 4E and 4E and 4E and 4E and 4E and bass. So let me play what we've got so far. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4E and. A little bit slower. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4E and. And because this drum beat can be used if you're finding the actual drum beat too difficult, let me now play it up to speed, because like I said, this is the simplified version of the drum beat you could play if you wanted to. It's 112 BPM. That's the quarter note. So we'll be counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So notice this rather cool effect. Starting on the and of beat 3, we've got this bass drum pattern falling on the and of 3, the E of 4, and then beat 1, and then the of beat 1. And we've got, basically what happens, we've got 4 bass drums in a row that are exactly 3/16 notes apart. So starting on the and of beat 3, the E of 4, beat 1, the of 1. By the way, this isn't important to understand, it's just a little bit of extra info for you if you're into this kind of geeky drummy side of things. It's basically playing a grouping of 3 through 16th notes on the bass drum. Starting on the and of beat 3, 3 and 4E and a 1E and or 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. It's like evenly spaced bass drums. 1 2 3 1 2 3 and a 4E and a 1E and a 3 and a 4E and a 1E and a. So you get this rather cool effect with the bass drum. Let me play it again for you, and listen out for the bass drum starting on the and of 3, and hear how it moves across the beat as you hear it. So the bass drum on beat 1 and the of beat 1 obviously are going to work when you start from the and of beat 3 once you've played it through once. So here we go. Boom, 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 boom. Quite a cool idea. Okay, so let's now move on to let's add in the double-handed hi-hat part in first. Yeah, okay, we'll do it that way around. So starting on the and a beat 2, we get some extra hi-hat notes. So up until the end of 2, it's exactly how I've shown you so far. We're playing straight eighth notes on the hi-hat. But then the left hand comes up to the hi-hat for the of beat 2 and the E of beat 3. So we're playing right, left, right, starting on the and of beat 2. And 3, E, and of course the bass drum comes down with the right hand on the and of beat 3. And 3, E, and 3, E, and. So up till the and of 3 we get 1, and 2, and 3, E, and. The left hand's then going to come down to play the snare drum normally on beat 4. So the only change so far is the extra hi-hat notes on the of beat 2 and the E of beat 3 falling in between what the right hand was playing anyway. We're just bringing the left hand up to play in between on the hi-hat. 1, and 2, and 3, E, and 4, E, and 1, and 2, and 3, E, and 4, E, and. So yeah, it's just some extra left hand notes on the hi-hat in between the right hands, and 3, E, and. In between the hi-hats played by the right hand, I should say. So then we got 2 open hi-hats, and the first one occurs on the and a beat 3, and it opens when the bass drum is played. So the hi-hat opens on the and a beat 3, closes with the snare drum on beat 4, and the snare drum and the hi-hat on beat 4. I think I said that, didn't I? So it opens on the and a 3, closes on 4 with the snare drum and hi-hat. Followed straight away by the bass drum on the E of 4, remember. So we get and 4, E, and 4, E, and then the hi-hat's going to open again on the and a beat 4, and closing on beat 1 next time it's resolved. So and 1 with the bass drum, and 1. So really, if this is still too difficult for you, you could take out the hi-hat opening on the and a beat 3, because that's probably the trickiest one to play, only because there's a bass drum followed straight afterwards on the E of 4. If that bass drum wasn't there, then opening the bass drum on the hi-hat on the and of 3 wouldn't be that complicated. But because it's followed straight away by a bass drum, it might throw people off. So you can leave out the hi-hat on the and of 4 and just keep in the hi-hat on the and of 1 if you wanted to. Sorry, did I say, you know what I mean? Keep it. You could keep the hi-hat opening on the and of 4 and get rid of the hi-hat opening on the and of 3. If I didn't say that, forgive me, my brain's dead. Here we go, so I'm going to play it slowly for you with those 2 openings in there. 1, and 2, and 3, E, and 4, E, and 1. Even slower, so you can see how the hands sort of line up. 1, and 2, and 3, E, and 4, E, and 1. So a nice little loop would be just the and 4, E, and, get used to that bit. And 4, E, and 4, E, and 1, perhaps up to beat 1. And 4, E, and 1, that's a good little loop. And 4, E, and 1. And 4, E, and 1. And 4, E, and 1. Notice the right hand's just playing steady eighth notes. D, 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 d. Okay, let me play the whole thing again, a little bit faster now. 1 and 2 and 3, okay. 1, 2, 3, E, and 4, E, and 1, E, and 2, and 3, E, and 4, E, and 1, 2, and 3, E, and 4, E, and 1. Without me counting over the top, give your ears a rest. And let's go up to speed with the metronome. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's the one of the grooves from the song Fluorescent Adolescent. It's a beautiful little drum groove because it's got the double hand hi-hats and the opening on the hi-hats as well, and the syncopated bass drum part. It teaches so many cool ideas all in one beat. So if you're relatively new to drumming, have a go at this one because obviously it's quite advanced and you might not be able to get it, but having a go at it sort of like I say, it teaches you loads of cool ideas which appear in other drum patterns you get later in your playing life. So I hope you had fun with that. You can check me out on YouTube, drums on Facebook, and on my website. All called Drums the Words. You'll find me if you type in Drums Words to Google or YouTube or Facebook or Twitter even, of course. And you can download the free music for this lesson as well from the links below. Check out my mega DVD package, which is still on sale, shipped all around the world. Just check me out, basically. See what I'm up to, see what other videos, you might find some other stuff that you'd be interested in taking a look at. So please do. Thanks for watching. See you next time.